This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism.
Hello.
It's been a while since we've been hanging out with you.
Yeah.
And it's been a really hard few weeks. I guess about 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. On January 21st, my mom and Josh's Nana went in the hospital. And if you listen to the podcast, you know that she had been sick, that she had been dealing with liver issues. She went into what's called a hepatic coma, and where she couldn't communicate. Was basically in a coma induced by the liver issues. And she was there for 3 days, and she came out of that and was in the hospital for, until the January 28th. So she was in the hospital for a week. And when she left the hospital, she was put on hospice. And that was a Friday on January 28th. And then she came home. And then
Sunday was, I believe, her last fully coherent day. No?
No. She was sassy to the end. She passed away February 2nd. But she was sassy to the very end. You know,
Yeah.
I guess the day before, we knew things were really going bad. But anyway, nobody really expected her to go that fast, but we know that she didn't want to live the way that she was because she was in pain.
Yeah.
And, wasn't living the life that she wanted to live. So, anyway, this is the first podcast that we're doing because it's been too hard, and I don't know if we're going to get through this one, right?
Yeah.
At this point. So I did want to let everybody know why we've been away, and before she went in the hospital, she was not doing well here, so she needed a lot of care, but she's gone, and I wanted to be able to give you, Josh, an opportunity to explain how that feels for you. It's on the spectrum.
Yeah.
You know, because some things are a bit different with you.
Yeah.
Than the rest of us. And it's okay. We have a family and everybody's different. Everybody does things their own way, and that's just kind of accepted in our family. I think we're very fortunate.
Yeah.
Because of that. But you were at work when Nana passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for you to be able to be here with us, Dad went up and picked you up.
Yeah. With Kenny, so that Kenny could drive my car back. Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you that listen, Kenny is I don't know if we've told you before, Kenny is Bug's fiance.
Yeah.
We've talked about RJ, who is her ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
That might not work in lots of families, but RJ's just as much part of the family as he ever has been. He and Kenny get along fine.
Yeah. Let alone he and Haley or Bug.
Yeah. It's everything's fine.
Yeah.
So they went up to get you.
Mm-hmm.
And your work was very supportive and kind to you and understanding of what you needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whenever Nana wasn't doing well, heck, whenever Grandpa wasn't doing well, before either of them passed, I was a mess. I was whenever Grandpa passed away, I was in high school. And which is hard enough without having to deal with someone not doing well.
Well, yeah. Autism is hard enough. High school's hard enough. You deal with losing somebody that you love, right?
Yeah. And dealing with Nana not being well, and as bad off as she was, what that's done is it's really solidified my belief that if I know that someone is not doing well and that they're not going to last too long, I guess. I just don't know when. That while they're still here is when I mourn. Because to me, it is seeing them in pain. It is knowing that they're not at their best, but not at their prime, whatever. They're not who they are.
Yeah, like their life is not what they would want it to be.
Right.
And it's because it's both. And when you say Grandpa, to let people know too, Grandpa is my dad, Nana is my mom, Pappy has been my stepdad, and then who became my dad, my actual dad, when I was 15.
Yes.
So, that's just to let everybody know that Pappy is still here.
Yes.
Pappy is still alive. He's hurting. Just doesn't he's getting help. Hospice provides bereavement for all of us for a year, and you haven't wanted to do that, but including RJ, he's the bereavement counselor as well, and so Pappy's alive and well. I don't want to give anybody the impression that he's gone too.
Right.
Pappy is here and he's living with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I've realized, like I said, is that whenever I know that they're not doing well, that someone is going to be passing away, I don't remember the steps of grief or whatever. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them or something like that, but that's all I remember. But I know that I feel horrible that they're not doing well.
Because you don't like to see people struggle.
I don't like to see people in pain, yeah.
Right.
And especially so whenever I'm so close to them, like I was to Nana, like I was to Grandpa.
Nana did something really, really cool the week before she went into the hospital. And, people have different belief systems, so I'm not talking about that, but we'll talk about what she did. And what she did, it looks to me, is that she knew what was coming. Because before she went in that coma, she called people that she knew. She texted people, her friends and family members. She messaged them through Facebook.
Yeah.
And one of the things she did, we've talked about this before, RJ is an amazing artist, and he's finally, and he deals with anxiety in his life, and he's finally found his niche, like his groove, and he's phenomenal. The week before she went in the hospital in that coma, she called RJ just to tell him how proud she was of him. Yeah. And just talked to him for a while. And she did that with so many different people that she knew and loved, and her friends. And
her phone was constantly dying because of it.
Right. But she did something with you.
Yeah. The Sunday before, she and I were just sitting in her living room and just started talking to each other, and I was asking her questions, and she was telling me all these stories, from her childhood, that some of them I'd never heard. Mm-hmm. And
one of them you said where she smacked a kid with her shoe.
Yes. Yeah. And
she always got. Nana's always little.
Yeah.
So she's only 4'10".
Yeah.
As an adult, and so
you say as an adult,
and so when she was in school, she was just a little bitty.
Yeah.
So people thought they could do what they want to her.
Yeah.
But she was sassy.
Oh my gosh.
And opinionated, and she didn't take stuff. So yeah, somebody was messing with her. She took her shoe off and beat him up with it. Yeah. And So you were here doing your laundry, because this is where everybody comes to do their laundry, right?
Yeah.
And so the whole time, it was like, 4 hours at least.
Of us just talking.
Yeah. She went and sat on her couch.
Yeah, right.
She laid on her couch a lot, during the day, and you went and sat on the couch and just hung out with her.
Yeah. And it was so cool. And the next day was Monday, and I had to go to work, and I believe that's when she really started going downhill.
Yeah, she started to not feel very well. But we just thought maybe she had a cold, so she just was sleeping more. Then by Wednesday, Pappy took her to the doctor, and because she wasn't really sick, so she was just tired. She said she was just tired, and then by Wednesday he took her to the doctor. Thursday, I took her to the emergency room. Because she had been throwing up then, and they said that it was a upper intestinal virus. So they gave her something that's called Zofran, something for nausea. Mm-hmm. That was Thursday morning. And then by Friday morning is when I called the paramedics. That's when I called 911. Because she was not able to respond, really. She still could a little bit, but it didn't make sense.
Right.
And she was not able to walk, and was not able to really...
coherent.
Yeah, she was not really coherent. And then by the time the ambulance got here, she was not able to even communicate. So, so that was Friday. That was the Friday, and then then she went and she came home the next Friday. So, yeah, you got to talk to her the week, just a few days before she got really bad.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. I'm glad that you had that time with her.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And on earlier I'd said that that if I know that they're not going to be well, that I grieve for them before they're gone.
Do you feel that way when somebody's just sick and you don't know that they're going to pass away, or just when you know that that's kind of imminent?
Could you explain that a little bit?
Like if somebody else has an operation and they have to recover from that, or they've, whatever, they've got the flu, or they've got, something that makes them not feel well. Do you feel this way then, or is it connected to knowing that they're not going to be here much longer?
That they're not going to be here much longer.
Mm-hmm.
With Grandpa and with Nana, everyone knew that they weren't going to make it. With Nana, we didn't know when at all. And we just knew that it was coming up on her.
Well, it happened very, very fast because she was given about 6 months to live.
Yeah.
In the hospital there. So and the thing that I think was shocking is that Nana she's so sassy and strong that she always just made it through.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that really shocked everybody, is that what was different this time than other times, because she's always made it through.
Yeah.
She's always, and what I think is that she was much sicker than we thought she was these last months, and ultimately hearing that her liver was just not working at all made sense, but still, she always made it through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that not being the case was clear, probably to anybody that was outside looking in.
Yeah.
But here, knowing her, it
was shocking.
Yeah, it still was. I don't. It doesn't make sense, but it was.
Yeah. And with me, at least, I've said this several times now. I mourned when she was in pain.
Yeah.
But whenever she did go, it was a mix of two different emotions. Sad because I wouldn't be able to directly interact with her anymore. But 65 to 70% of me, of the two emotions, was relief. Because she wasn't in pain anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And whenever Grandpa passed away, I remember that the sadness didn't really hit me until a bit later.
Yeah.
And even at his funeral, I was relieved that he was no longer in pain, that he was no longer suffering.
Yeah.
And I understood why everyone else at the funeral was crying and so upset and everything. I understood that because I had gone through that while he was still here.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to do my best to make sure that everyone was okay,
Yeah.
And with Nana, the majority may have been relief, but I was still sad.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Yeah. Well, right. And one thing that I want to hear from you is grief is something that people deal with in their own way. And it takes people different amounts of time to work through it and to be okay. And what I want to know from you is, what did you need to happen in order to be okay? From the very beginning. How could we have helped you the best, and how can other people know that when their families go through this, that maybe their family member or their friend that's on the spectrum, how can they best help them?
if you can break that down, and I'll answer each part of that question. I'm sorry, because there was multiple parts to that.
So just with Nana passing,
Mm-hmm.
what did you need for us to do for you to be okay?
I think that I think what you guys did was you were always there to support me if I needed it. Same as always, you for everything, but I mean, for this in particular, it was if I needed to give or get a hug, you guys were there for that.
Mm-hmm.
If I needed to talk, you guys were there for that.
Mm-hmm.
And before she passed away, she was there for that.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it be the hugs, whether it just be talking, as long as there was time and consideration, I guess, to help me work through what I was feeling, to understand what I was feeling, and to be able to talk that through with both her and with you guys made a huge difference.
What do you mean, talk it through with her?
That one of the things that whenever she and I were talking with each other,
Mm-hmm.
Before that last major conversation with her,
Yeah.
it wasn't all just stories and stuff like that. That was a majority of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But part of it was just talking about how we were feeling about things, about her being sick, and just working through the different emotions that we were having.
Well, did she let you know that she'd be okay? That she knew? I don't even know how to ask that. Did you guys talk about that she was really sick?
We didn't talk about the time frame of things.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of the things that I had mentioned was that I didn't want to see her go. And I just talked through my thoughts. I even if I didn't really have a clear idea of what I was trying to say, I still tried to put it into words and how I was feeling to her, and she listened. She was giving feedback to what I was feeling, and
So she helped you process
yeah,
her passing.
yeah,
It's pretty cool.
yeah, and I want to make something clear that for me, I have no experience when it comes to sudden deaths of someone that I'm close to. So I'm not 100% sure how I would feel in that instance.
Right.
I think that in that instance, I might feel like everyone else is feeling when it comes to the prolonged thing of...
Like an illness.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know.
Right. Sounds like that conversation with Nana helped you a lot.
It did. I don't remember the words that were said.
Right. There's a saying that says that people won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And
I've never heard that, but it fits.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like she helped to comfort you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. One thing that I know that was as important as anything else, any other time in your life, that you needed your own time.
Yeah.
So afterwards we had a memorial. And before we get done with this podcast today, I'm going to share a little bit about Nana, because I want people to know who she was and what she was like.
Yeah.
She's very, very saucy, so me describing her is going to be kind of a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because your dad said, like, from the very beginning, you probably shouldn't swear on the podcast. Okay. Okay. Yes. So, yeah, I want to talk about that, but the thing is that we had a memorial for her, and so we had a bunch of family here.
Yeah.
And we, even during the memorial, you were there. You were very present. You felt emotion, and when you felt it, you let it out. You didn't try to not have that happen.
Right.
And when you needed time, just like any other time, you said to me, I need to,
Yeah.
And so, and so you would go back into the back room and you would just read and just, get away from everybody.
Yeah.
Because it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
And so
everyone at the memorial we were all trying to share different stories about things we'd experienced with Nana.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And there was a bunch of us here.
Yeah.
And so the only thing, so the thing that we did as a family is to be there when you needed something, to check on you, to ask you if you're okay, to ask you if you needed anything, and then to let you know that whatever you needed was okay. The only thing that we didn't allow you to do on those couple of days was drive.
Mm.
And I would do that part again. It's the same way. Even if you were to sit here and tell me I was okay driving, there's no way. Because it was just too emotional. So I would not want you to drive. Look, you forget to use a brake anyway.
No,
you go
don't.
around turns.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
I go a calculated turn.
Okay.
A calculated
Right.
speed around turns.
Okay, I got it. So, your calculated speed makes me have to hold on. So, anyway, but so what you're saying is that you processed this and did dealing with Grandpa's passing years ago, which was like 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That helped you with Nana's passing, or it was just a totally separate experience?
I would say that it kind of helped because I knew what was going on, so I could better identify what I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it can't help.
Mm-hmm.
Because it
Right. Yeah, I get it. So even when somebody, that somebody's sick, excuse me, and the conversation of them dying has come up, when it happens, this Nana leaving felt so abrupt.
we knew it was going to happen, but you're right, it was abrupt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At first it was 6 months, and then it was maybe a few months, and then it was maybe a few weeks, and it turned out to be 4 days.
Yeah.
After she left the hospital.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's difficult for family members too. So I'm grateful that there were so many of us around here, because I do feel like sometimes in this I don't really remember. So I don't really remember going to you asking if you're okay. I think I probably did, but I don't remember some things because there was a lot of
Emotion.
Mm-hmm. A lot of emotion, a lot of decisions
Yeah.
need to be made.
I remember that whenever I had gone into the back room, and one of the reasons for that was so that I could get my emotions back to where I could be amongst everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I do remember happening whenever I was back there was you coming back there and checking on me. Mm-hmm. And I think you actually did ask me, "Are you doing okay?" And I gave you a look, I think. And you're like, "Yeah, stupid question."
Probably. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So you feel things very, very deeply. We know that already. With processing other people's emotions can be confusing for you at times if it's not clear.
Right.
The fact that everybody here had the same emotion, that was easy for you to register, correct?
Yeah. It was easy to register, yes, to comprehend that much of that emotion, not so much.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question, because there was a lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of sad people, a lot of crying,
Yeah.
a lot of laughing, just because of ultimately because of who Nana was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so was it even more so? Did you need the break away from everybody because of the intensity, even more than normal?
Yeah, a bit. One thing that I've come to realize is that staying at RJ's house,
Mm-hmm.
while Nana's been sick, and even to now, really, I'm still over there a lot. I needed that because to be over there.
Oh, to be away from here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Nana was here and she wasn't doing well, and then she wasn't here, and you guys weren't doing well because of it, and
Right.
I couldn't be here because of that.
Right. Right.
And I could not deal with that kind of feeling at the time. And it has gotten better at this point. Still not great at all, but it's better than it was.
So something that I want to say about that is that just like in your life and other situations, that I've learned from you that you might not express yourself, you might need to remove yourself from a situation. It doesn't mean that you don't have feelings about it.
Right.
And so I think it's super important for anybody to know that when and I can talk about you when you're on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So you have autism.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, I would hope so, otherwise this podcast is misnamed.
That's right. So you you need time to process.
Yes.
Regardless of the situation. And just because everybody else is feeling something similar to one another, and just because there's a lot of it, and and the whole family is together in this situation, when somebody in the family dies, you, and I would suspect people with other people on the spectrum, still need their time away like you do.
Yeah.
You need that time away, and you need to be able to be given space.
Yes.
To process and to grieve in your own way and to feel whatever you feel, and there is no wrong way to do that.
Right.
And so that's my bit of advice when it comes to having a family member on the spectrum and dealing with death, is that just because there's so many intense emotions that you're feeling, as the family member, the caregiver, doesn't mean that the person on the spectrum needs to mimic that. Doesn't mean that they have to mirror what it is that you're feeling or what anybody else in the family's feeling. You need to be given that space and that grace to be able to deal with it however they can deal with it.
Yeah.
And process however they can process that. And oftentimes that means needing chunks of time away from all of the emotion.
Yes.
And to me, that is the best answer that I can give for in a situation like this. So we've done that all the time in other areas of your life, right? We all get together for Christmas time. But yep, I've had enough of you people. You come give me the look. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It even more, because there were very intense. It was intense sadness, grief off the charts at losing Nana. And for the whole family, and we were all here. People from North Carolina and South Carolina and Georgia
and California
and Maryland. People, yes, from all over came in and were here. And so not only is it nice for you to see people that you haven't seen in a while, but even that on a good day, I was like, oh, great, love you, nice to see you, bye. Right? But with all this emotion, it seemed to me that your stay time was shorter.
Yes.
Than usual.
Yes.
And my advice to people, to family members, is to give your loved ones that opportunity to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Those on the spectrum need to have time away. And also to also not to be told how they should be feeling.
Right.
So one of the things that I stay away, and I don't like it at all in any situation, is for somebody to tell me how I should feel.
Right.
And so that's one of the things I stood up for you for a long time. Don't tell him how he needs to feel.
Right.
You telling him doesn't make it so.
Right. It's almost is the word contrary, or is it? It almost
counterintuitive.
Yeah, but yeah. It
Right.
almost makes me want to feel the opposite way, even if I don't actually feel the opposite way. It makes me feel like I want to feel the opposite.
Well, because that's you. You get that from me. What does Dad say? Like, it just like if I had a catchphrase, it would be, "Don't tell me what to do."
Yeah.
Yes. So, I think that's super important for people to know.
Yeah.
So I want to know, it's the last question for you then, and then I would just like to talk about Nana a little bit.
Okay.
So I want to know how you're doing now.
I feel I'm doing a bit better. I've had time now to not necessarily come to terms with what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand what happened. And another thing that has really helped me through this is that I have a job that I can go to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily mindless work or anything like that, but it's very repetitive. It's very detail-oriented. It's very meticulous.
Mm-hmm.
And having that routine for me was a huge help.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, I have difficulty talking about Nana, but it's getting better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, the differences, you and I are very, very different people. The differences are, for me, I have been offered comedy gigs already, and I've turned them down because I can't even think straight yet.
Right.
I can't, I'm having a very hard time concentrating, holding focus on anything. And I don't want to, I respect the people that give me work enough that I don't want to take a gig just to take a gig knowing that I'm not
there yet.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And so I've turned them down so far. And, hopefully that will, I'll heal and be able to get back to it, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. Is there anything else?
I guess the only thing I can think of is that this is how I deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily how everyone else will.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me to get away and focus on something else for a little bit before I can come back out to recuperate.
Mm-hmm.
That's my method to recharge, so to speak. That's my method to working things through.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be the same for everyone else, but for me to have that chance to do that recharging in the moment and everything is huge.
Right. The other thing that I think sometimes you need is not necessarily conversation. So that when you are with people, sometimes you just need a hug.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you need a pat on the back. Just, you know, to that connection.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily need a conversation. You know, and a lot of people I know, as the time has gone by, are you okay? I think it's important to know that when you say that, yep, you're doing all right, or you're struggling, whatever, not to necessarily push you to go further than that.
Right.
I feel like that's giving you the opportunity to go at your own speed and to express what you need to when you're ready to express it.
Yeah.
You know, we have the bereavement person, and you're not interested in talking to her, right? Which is fine. There's people in the family that have really benefited from talking to her, and there's people that feel like it's not necessary.
Right.
And it's there's no right or wrong.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah. So, what I would like to do at the very end of this podcast right now is I just want to talk about Nana a little bit. And I'm going to change some of the words because Nana, again, was the most independent, sassy person that I've ever met in my whole entire life. She, seriously. So she was 81 years old, and Nana's name was Peggy Rose, and just so we put her name out there because I want the universe to know that we, you know, to send it out there, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Nana.
What was her middle name?
Oh, she hated her middle name. It was Louise.
Okay.
She hated her middle name.
Her sister? Or was that a cousin?
No, that's on the other side.
Oh, okay,
That's on the other side. So, in the hospital, Nana was in, again, that hepatic coma for 3 days. And sitting around the hospital with the doctors afterwards, what I really liked is the doctors spoke to her. Her eyes were closed. Mm-hmm. You know, she was super weak, but they spoke to her, which I say is super important.
Yeah.
You know, I take you to a doctor. I want people talking to you. Yes, talk to me, but talk to you.
Yeah.
Right? You're not invisible.
Right.
And so, and this is where I have to clean up. I can't say the word. So she's hearing, she's out of it. Her eyes are closed. The doctors are around the bed, around with me and Pappy, deciding her next step in care. Mm-hmm. One of the doctors said, well, what would be the best is for her to go into rehab after she left the hospital. Without missing a beat, without opening her eyes, she said, F no. And you know that she said the word. And the doctors started laughing, and it was like, well, okay then. That's the answer. That's the answer. And that's who she was. Just the biggest cheerleader of all of us, but sassy pants, just opinionated. You knew if she liked you. You knew if she didn't. You knew if she approved of what you were doing. Yeah. And she would talk to you if she didn't. And if she felt like you needed to be straightened up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so she, yeah, little just sassy pants. She was one of the reasons why I ever got into stand-up. Because her and Aunt Becky and Daddy went with me, or Dad, sorry. Dad went to comedy club with me and encouraged me to go up. And she was my biggest cheerleader. She would go with me on the road. It was just great times out there with her.
Yeah.
And so she was, we asked her, and we had, I kind of knew her plans, but just like everybody else, how I talked to her the week before she got real sick, it came up about what she wanted. When she passed. And her answer was, I go, do you want to have a funeral? I don't want strangers gawking at me. That's what she said. So she wanted to be cremated. So we went to the Cremation Society of Virginia. That's where we went. And went with my brother, your Uncle Tracy, and Pappy, and myself. We were there, and Uncle Tracy wanted to get, he got a little cross with some of her ashes in it. And so he wanted that, and so he got that. And I was like, I don't know, I don't really want to wear her ashes, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah.
But I saw this, which is totally fitting for me and how I believe in life. Which they had this pendant that for a necklace that was yin yang, and so it's the yin yang is a symbol that is all over the place. It's in nature. It's a lot
of karate dojos
well,
have
it's
it.
the opposite in equal parts, you know.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other, and it's all connected. And so anyway, what they did is it's this thing, they call it thumbs, because what they do is they take the person that passed and they put their thumbprints on this, and then it's their thumbprints are on either side of the yin yang symbol. And here it is right here. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But knowing Nana, as sassy as she is, I called them up and I asked them, I said, hey, when you do her fingerprints, could you use her middle finger? Because that's how who she was.
Yeah.
That's just like, that says it all right there. So I don't know if they did or not.
Right.
But I put in the request anyway. So they thought it was funny. They had never gotten that request. So they appreciated it. But when Nana passed, you were at work.
Yes.
And a bunch of us were here. And she was having a very hard time passing and it was clearly that she was ready to go, but she was kind of fighting it.
Yeah.
And the chaplain happened to be here from hospice. The chaplain had called and said, could I come out next Monday? I said, I don't think she's going to be here.
Right.
So she came out and she was here. And what happened is she was kind of she wasn't leaving. She was fighting. Like she was ready to go, but she wasn't.
Right.
And so the chaplain said that sometimes they just need to hear from somebody. And your cousin Nick, who is her oldest grandson, Bug, heard the chaplain say that, and she got Nick on the phone. And Bug put him on speaker. And he said, I love you, Nana. It's okay to go. And then it turned to a story that happened. 2 stories that happened. And she left in the midst of this. One time, when your sister was a baby, she was in a little stroller. Nana and myself and Bug were walking a few houses up on our street. I found this picture of this bride. Didn't know who it was. I took it up to the house. Is this you? Did you lose this? No, I don't know whose it was. Nobody around the neighborhood knew who it was. So me, being who I am, I took her home and I put her on the mantle. And so then, for years, that bride would go back and forth at different houses. So we would go up to Nana's house, and I would take that bride with me, And then right before I left, one time I put it under her pillow.
Yes.
And then another time, she snuck it in my suitcase, so it was back with me.
Yes.
I would get it for a birthday gift.
Christmas gift.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that thing went back and forth and back and forth. It was just hysterical. One time, when we still lived in Pennsylvania, our neighbors across the street were having a yard sale. And they had this statue of this naked man and this naked woman next to each other, like hugging, right?
Yeah.
And it was hideous. it was just awful. I go
tasteful but hideous.
I need that. And then the daughter, it was the mom's that she goes, please take it. Like no, I was like, what do you want for it? No, please take it. You're doing me a favor. So I took that hideous naked statue. And put it in Nana's yard.
I have a picture of that.
You do?
I have a picture of that, yes. Of it being in the yard and everything.
Okay, maybe we'll put it on the website. Maybe we'll put it, yeah. That thing went all over the place.
Yeah.
So after that, Nana tricked Uncle Tracy, gave it to him. It's like they went down to his house and left it there. And then after that, he had spray painted it gold as if it's like some, Oscar or something. And then that's when I got that back for Christmas. So that was all over the place. So anyway, those were the stories that we were all laughing about. And that's when she passed. So Nick said that it was okay to go. And we were laughing at those stories. And she left surrounded with, I was holding her hand. Your Uncle Tracy was rubbing her hair, her head. Pappy was on the other side holding her hand. Your dad was at her feet. Bug was there. Kenny was there. RJ, I don't know.
I think he was working.
I think he was working. He came after.
Yeah.
But we were there, and she left. After Nick told her it was okay, and the last thing that she heard was her family laughing at the stories, the funny stories of those two stories.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a pretty cool way for somebody to be able to leave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, that, my friends, was Nana. Well, we miss her. We're not okay yet. We're trying.
Yeah.
But she was sassy. Oh my goodness. And we're grateful for having her in our lives, and we miss her.
Yeah.
So
I know we can't say what we always said about her, but so I'll use a different word for the first one, that she was always full of pee and vinegar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, firecracker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the indulgence, everyone. I appreciate you being with us again today. We miss being with you, and clearly I think you can tell from our emotion that there's no way that we could come back and be with you any sooner than this.
Yeah.
But we're back now, and just going to do the best we can.
Yeah.
And we hope that you're doing well. We hope that everybody's happy and healthy, and love the people that are in your lives. Give them hugs. Tell them you love them.
Yeah.
Spend time with them sitting at the end of their couch if you have an opportunity. And thank you, everybody, for being there. We appreciate the check-ins, too. Richard, thank you so much. Kelly, thank you. You both have been beyond amazing. And so many others. I apologize. I can't remember names of right now. So, anyway, Anyway, thank you, everybody. We're just going to end letting you know that we appreciate you. Love you.
Thank you. Bye.